Welcome to my channel. Imagine you are standing in front of a dark, imposing door. On either side there are two keys, one silver and one gold. You're told that behind that door lies your greatest desire, your heart's deepest longing. Now which key do you reach for? The ornate gold one seems to promise magic and wonder. The silver one looks simple, yet reliable. Which do you choose? If you pick the golden key, you're not alone. Many of us are drawn to the allure of the extraordinary, the promise of quick fixes and dazzling results. We want the magic, the instant transformation that the gold key seems to offer. But what if the real magic lies in the simplicity of the silver key? In today's episode, we'll unravel the hidden power of the ordinary. We'll explore why sometimes the most extraordinary transformations happen through the simplest of means. Join us as we discover that true change often lies not in the glitz and glamour, but in the quiet strength of the everyday. Martha's heart was heavy with grief, her eyes downcast. The vibrant laughter that once echoed through her home had been replaced by the chilling silence of her brother Lazarus' absence. Days had turned into a blur of sorrow since he had fallen ill. The joyous spirit that had defined him, that had made their home a sanctuary of mirth and light, had been snuffed out by an unrelenting fever. And now here she was, standing in the hushed twilight of her courtyard, waiting for her brother's return, or rather his remains, for word had spread that he was dead. Death had settled upon him, cold and inescapable. But Martha's faith was a flickering candle in the wind. She clung to the belief that if only she could get Jesus to come, to lay his hands upon Lazarus, even in death, he might be brought back to life. Meanwhile, messengers had been dispatched, racing across the sun-drenched hills to find the healer whose name echoed with miracles. Jesus. When he received the summons, he didn't rush, didn't make a dramatic dash toward the village. No, instead, he spent time with his disciples, sharing teachings that transcended the physical realm, lessons about life and death, faith and resurrection. Finally, when the time felt right, he spoke. "Let us go to Judea again." A strange calm had descended upon him, a quiet resolve that hinted at something more than a simple healing. As they journeyed, Jesus explained to his followers why he was going. "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going to wake him up." Thomas, ever straightforward, blurted out, "Let us also go, that we may die with Jesus." These young men weren't afraid of death. They had chosen to follow a man who had spoken of conquering even death itself. The villagers were abuzz with news of Jesus' arrival. Some whispered of miracles, others scoffed, seeing only a wandering preacher. But for Martha, hope had bloomed anew. When she saw Jesus approaching, she fell at his feet, pouring out her grief. Yet Jesus, instead of rushing to console her, gave her a surprising message: "Your brother will rise again." Martha understood what he meant. At some distant point in the future, everyone who had died would be raised. But this wasn't the solace that she needed in that moment of despair. "I know," she replied, tears glistening on her cheeks, "that when the Messiah comes, he will resurrect all people who belong to God." Martha was clinging to the idea of the distant Messiah, the idea that her brother's current suffering would culminate in some future glorious resurrection. She wasn't ready to accept his death, not completely. There was still a glimmer of hope that she could hold on to. In response, Jesus told her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will live, even though they die." Do you believe this? The weight of his words pressed down on her like a physical force. In that moment, she realized that Jesus wasn't just another teacher or prophet. He wasn't merely speaking of some far-off future resurrection. He was offering her life here and now. With newfound determination, Martha went to meet her sister Mary, who had remained shut in their house, consumed by grief. Martha conveyed the astonishing news: "The Christ has come. He who was dead when he had awakened has gone out to him." Mary, still shrouded in her sorrow, didn't grasp the full meaning of these words. When Jesus arrived at the house, he found Mary and Martha, each lost in their own grief, waiting for a miracle that seemed increasingly out of reach. He sat down. Outside the house, Martha rushed to where Jesus sat, urging him to come quickly, while Mary stayed where she was, too overwhelmed to move. Jesus, understanding their different ways of coping, first approached Mary. Despite her immobility, he knew her pain intimately. Kneeling down, he told her, Didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" Still, Mary didn't move, lost in the depths of her sorrow. Then something unexpected happened. Jesus began to weep. His tears weren't those of sorrow, but of empathy, of shared pain, and of the love that compelled him to heal. Seeing this, Mary's resolve began to stir. Martha, on the other hand, was filled with a kind of helpless frustration. Her thoughts raced. Couldn't he have kept him from dying? Why hadn't he come sooner? But as she watched Jesus' interaction with her sister, she also began to understand the value of this moment, the confrontation with death itself. As if sensing their inner turmoil, Jesus rose and announced, "Come and see the works of God." Without another word, he led them to the tomb where Lazarus lay. The tomb was a stark symbol of finality, the air around it heavy with the stench of death. The stench of death clings tenaciously to the tomb, serving as a grim reminder of its occupant's fate. Yet Jesus, impervious to the stench, instructed them to roll away the stone. The stone was large, a barrier designed to keep the dead within and the living out. For days had passed since Lazarus had been buried, and the stench emanating from beneath the stone attested to the decay that had set in. But Martha protested, "Lord, by now there will be a terrible smell. It's been 4 days." And in that moment of doubt, of questioning, Jesus uttered a profound truth. "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" Martha's words implied a reproach, a subtle accusation that Jesus had been slow to come, that death had already claimed her brother. Yet Jesus didn't defend himself. Instead, he affirmed her belief, gently reminding her of the trust that she had placed in him, and then, turning away, he fixed his gaze on the sealed tomb. Before anyone could react, Jesus called out in a voice that boomed with authority, "Lazarus, come forth." The command reverberated through the stillness, piercing the veil between life and death. As the crowd gathered around the tomb, their hearts pounded in unison with the pounding of their hopes and fears. Then a miracle unfolded before their astonished eyes. The tomb, which had symbolized death and finality, began to crack. Slowly, the stone covering the entrance split apart, pushed open by a force that defied explanation. The sight that greeted them was nothing short of miraculous. Lazarus emerged, his skin pale but intact, his eyes clear, blinking in the sunlight as if waking from a deep sleep. The silence that had enveloped the courtyard was shattered by gasps, murmurs, and exclamations. The onlookers, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed, exchanged stunned glances. Some fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the event, while others broke into excited chatter, the weight of the resurrected Lazarus dawning on them. Mary, who had initially been overcome with emotion to move, now ran to meet her brother. Tears streamed down her face, not tears of sorrow, but of pure joy. In that moment, she understood the depth of Jesus' teachings, the boundless power that resided within him. As Martha watched Mary embrace Lazarus, she couldn't help but reflect on the strength her sister had found. Though fear had frozen Mary in her grief, that same fear had now melted away, replaced by unbridled joy. Martha, too, felt a surge of gratitude and awe. Jesus hadn't just raised Lazarus from the dead. He had restored her faith, shown her the boundless potential of belief. But the reactions to the miracle weren't uniform. Some were ecstatic, praising Jesus, while others, consumed by disbelief, started to plot. The chief priests and the Pharisees, threatened by Jesus' growing influence and the challenge he posed to their authority, began to scheme. They concocted a plan to kill Lazarus and to seize Jesus, too, if they could trap him. Fear and wonder intermingled in the crowd, fear of the religious leaders' retaliation and wonder at the miracle they had just witnessed. In this moment of collective contemplation, the balance of faith, fear, and disbelief hung heavy in the air. The miracle had shaken the foundations of their world, leaving them grappling to make sense of what they had seen. Are you like Martha and Mary, witnessing the miracles in your life? Or are you among the crowd, fearful and skeptical? How does the story of Lazarus impact your perspective on faith, death, and miracles? Share your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. By doing so, you'll not only be supporting us, but also opening doors to more inspiring content. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Till next time, May you find magic in the ordinary and miracles in your everyday life.